fucking know it's better for people? Fucking cheap labor, that's how you get cheap shit. You pay nothing. Film it, bro, film it.
I'm filming it.
Yeah, bro. That's how you get cheap shit, bro. Who's labor? Who's labor?
No, I'm agreeing with you. It's like in
Bro,
Guatemala.
if you're agreeing with me, then I'm gonna just have this conversation with these two who are not okay,
No,
okay?
but I agree with you, but I disagree.
Then why are you
Let's take
interrupting
the
me?
shift of perspective.
You've
So,
literally been
Why are
putting
you?
words into
I'm
our
gonna.
mouth. for
So
the
I'm
last
not.
few
Hold on,
minutes.
1 second.
we
Why are you
were
interrupting?
very disrespectful with Latin American communities, right? We supported Boris Baja, Guatemala. That led to thousands of genocide of minds. That's 100% true. We threw our support behind that. But what they're saying is also kind of right. Well, why don't we take a shift and look at other countries, nations that haven't done so well in the USSR?
Cuba
Right.
has done great.
No,
What?
They've been doing great for their people. They have like 99%
Fidel
literacy.
Castro
They
has
have
murdered
fucking their own health
millions of
brigades that come out and help Latin America. Who was there in
lady
Puerto
right
Rico?
there,
Who
there's
was
the
there in Puerto
poster.
Rico? Who was there? Not the US.
So much
It's
so
a
for
fucking
liberal
colony.
tolerance.
The US has a fucking colony in Puerto Rico, and we couldn't even show up for them. How many fucking people died for Puerto Rico? How many fucking people died for Puerto Rico? On the fucking
We'll get the scoop from Holden after.
And who wants to go fucking help them? Cuba? Who wants to fucking help? The health brigade? Who wants to fucking help?
Well, it's
We
because
didn't
of
help
their
our
political
fucking own
position.
colony.
What about the
I need to call the conversation.
Tell me
I'll leave that
what
video later,
America.
okay?
We have a fucking colony. What happened to Puerto Rico?
Have you heard of Venezuela?
Have you heard of Puerto Rico? Have you heard of Puerto Rico? Have you heard of Nicaragua? Have you heard, bro?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my god.
Oh shit, no,
What brings you guys out here? Animal liberation. Animal liberation. By what means? Please explain.
We believe that all humans, all genders, all equality for animals, humans, for everybody. Everyone deserves equal rights.
You know what happens to a dairy cow? She lives 4 years, okay, at most. She's milked every day. She's raped on a rape rack, and her babies are taken from her, okay?
There was a time in history when that was necessary, but that time has passed. With grocery stores, with trucks, with all the access we have to food at this point, we can live very healthy lives without eating them. So if we can get all the nutrients we need without causing suffering, I think that's something we should do.
Why are you doing that?
No comment.
Okay, well, this guy's putting his horn while I'm trying to talk to you. Sorry about that, sir. That's pretty rude.
Does white privilege exist?
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely.
And where's the proof of that?
All around. You know, I tell people often now, in hindsight, one of the things that I wish I would have been more cognizant of was the white privilege at UCLA that was sitting, you know, right next to me. For Black people, I believe white privilege is something to leverage.
What is it though? I don't see it anywhere. What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
How don't you
For
not
people
see
like
white
me who
privilege?
don't see it.
How do you not? How do you not see white privilege?
Because it doesn't exist. That's
Yes,
what
it does.
So what is it exactly?
Things, I believe white privilege is just the ability just to be free and white and not have the same type of social, economic, and social ills as Black people have to deal with. I mean, there's no white racial profiling. White people don't get pulled over by the cops just because they're white. They have the ability to, you know, show emotion and love to their sons without being emasculated. There's all kind of examples
That's
of
amazing
white privilege.
that you believe that.
Absolutely. Why don't you Black? How come you don't believe white privilege exists? What you see?
Well, because I you know, I am Black in color, but I don't have that dark mentality that most Black people have.
Clearly.
I see, she said clearly, I see that white people have the same struggles and things that we have in that.
What type of
they have
struggles
to
do they
make their
have?
marriages work. They have to make their children, help their kids grow up in the right way so that they can earn a living and be independent.
But they also have the majority of their
make
fathers
kids,
at home.
Right,
We don't
and the
have-
reason for that, it's starting to change somewhat now, but the reason for that is because they are taking responsibility for that, whereas Black men and women are not taking responsibility for that, as they did prior to the Civil Rights Movement. Black people are blaming it on their lack of self-control and self-containment they're blaming it on white people while white people are working hard to keep it going.
I do
for
believe
themselves.
that there is a need for black people to be held more accountable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't excuse racism, that doesn't excuse institutionalized racism, that doesn't excuse.
But there's no
that,
such thing as that.
Yes,
it's an
it
illusion
is.
made
No,
up
it's
by
not.
black people and their
it's
leaders.
not. No, it's not. It exists.
Well,
Sorry.
where's the proof of it, though?
What do you mean, where's the proof of it?
There are many kids who are getting into, black kids who are allowed to get into these universities around the country, right, based on affirmative action. And because of affirmative action based on their color. That's discrimination based on color, and that's wrong. And these kids are getting in, but they're not earning their way. So when they fail, they feel less than before they were allowed to get in based on color.
I'm a proud product of affirmative action. When I went to UCLA, it was because I was an affirmative action student.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I think I turned out fantastic. So a lot of my peers who were having challenges getting into some of these predominantly white institutions, the affirmative action was great. My father went to Harvard. You know, he was one of very few blacks.
Was he affirmative action person?
I don't know if he was. That was back in the late 60s.
Well, then he wasn't. He
Okay.
earned his way.
So, that being said, I still believe that affirmative action helped me get into UCLA, and it gave me access.
You would
and
not have
exposure.
gotten in there on your own because you were not smart enough?
I don't know if I wasn't smart enough, but based on the curve and what I was competing with you know, other individuals who had different educational opportunities and teachers. I mean, I'm coming from, you know, the LA Unified School District. I mean, so at the time, I think LAUSD was still pretty good. But I went to all white schools from high school up
So you
through
got
college.
a good education. Why couldn't you get into the school based on your own talent?
I don't know. Maybe because I didn't have some of the opportunity.
But you
first
had
of all,
the opportunities.
No, well, first of all,
You had the same
SAT,
opportunity those white kids were having.
Not necessarily. I had different teachers. I had different
So you
resources.
went to a white integrated school,
I'm talking about
mostly
going
white.
into these other into UCLA. I still had to be able to deal with some of the issues and going to predominantly white schools.
Like
but
what?
I still had to be able to compete.
Like what?
What do you mean, like what?
Some of the issues going to a predominantly
I would graduate from University High School, and at the time they didn't have an African American student union.
An African American student union?
At the school.
Well, that's a good thing.
They didn't have one.
That's a good thing.
Why?
Why do you need something like that?
They have Asian student unions. They have Jewish student unions. They have all kind of different.
Did they have
student
white
unions.
student union?
They need student union. They own the whole school. So
But the kids didn't own the school. The kids didn't.
But I'm
own it.
saying there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing wrong
It's
with having
amazing that
a
you think this way.
segregated, you know, population of students who just want to study together, or work together, or to be able to.
Would you
deal
be in
with
support of a white student union?
Yeah, of course.
It would be okay with you?
Yeah, why
Okay.
not?
But most blacks don't feel that way.
I think all cultures should be able to segregate and to be able to work within their cultures and network within their own cultures. Absolutely.
Does racism exist?
I believe racism does exist.
And where's the
absolutely.
proof of that?
You just see it all over in the country. We're proof of it. In terms
What-
of just the,
what do
the
I see?
disproportionate in the economics with black people.
But that has nothing to do with racism.
It does. Racism is about power. It's about who's in control. And black people can't be racist because we're not in control. We're not in control of the educational system, some of the social organizations and things that run this country. We're not in control. Racism is about power.
But you would
What
be in
race is
control of your own life if you had good parents, if they taught you how to be independent, if they taught you how to build, how to take care of. I've noticed that the reason I left where I lived over there in the Crenshaw district is that once the white people left, because once I moved there, when I first moved there, it was mostly whites. But once they left, as they did in Gary, Indiana, and other places, the blacks turned it into a ghetto. A beautiful area went to hell in a handbasket, so I got out. But if blacks had more character and they were taking care of themselves and being responsible and buying land and teaching their
But
children,
that has to be taught.
then right, so that has nothing to do with racism.
But that has to, of course, that has to be taught.
So it's not racist. It's not white people's fault that you're not teaching your children to do that.
No, but it's not. If the
that true?
parents don't know,
They
If the
don't
parents,
know.
If, so-
But
if
that's
the,
not
if the
white
parents
people's
don't
fault,
know,
though.
But if they go into some of these institutions, these predominantly white institutions, they are targeted. They don't have the same opportunities because of their color. It's true. I mean,
So then why go in there then? Why not go to all black school if you
some
feel
people
that?
do choose to do that.
I'm sorry?
Some people do choose. That's
Well,
why
you see a lot of these black kids going to these white universities, and then they force their way in by saying, I need affirmative action. Once they get in, now they crying racism. Why do you want to force your way in with the people you think are your enemies, and you're still complaining once you get there?
I don't think people are forcing their way. Does
They are.
affirmative action even
Affirmative action
exist?
is forced based on color.
Does affirmative action even exist? Are people getting in based on affirmative action?
Yes.
Today,
Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
The way Trump has it down, he's just leveled the playing field. So it is going to have to be more about being able to be competitive.
Hallelujah.
Hello, my name is Jay. I'm social justice based. Agree with me or you'll be